Memories of the past began to attack me. Do you remember the 2014 film of the same name, Fleet of Time, which is based on the classic novel? After the film was released, the plot was exaggerated by most people. But who would have thought that this drama would exceed nearly 500 million box office in just 10 days when it was released? We can't deny that there may be some unexpected things in everyone's youth. But this is the part that makes up our youth. Now more than 10 years have passed since this drama. Now I still shed tears inexplicably. We will cry with the people in the play. It is worth mentioning that the author of the novel, Jiu Yi-fun, is the prototype character of Shin Xiaodong. She gave Fangfen a death ending in the novel. The reality is the opposite. What is the reason for this? Today I will take you to explain this classic movie Fleet of Time in depth. The story begins one night in Beijing, when the girl Kiki is talking to her sister, and she says on the phone that there are a group of people older than her. And who is Kiki's sister? In the noisy wine game, everyone used alcohol to tell the crazy deeds of the past. Some people mention emotional entanglements, and Chen Sun's story becomes the focus. For the sake of a girl, he did a 13-point big question in the college entrance examination. When Chen Sun drunkenly set his feet back then, it instantly caused the audience to sigh. Some people laugh, others are full of doubts. At this time, Chen Sun's words were filled with a hint of ostentation and melancholy. This episode caught the attention of wedding photographer Kiki. She took the initiative to talk to Chen Sun and kept asking about the story of the 13-point girl. Chen Sun found himself disheveled after sobering up, but the two did not have a substantial relationship. Chi-Chi was curious about Fangfen's affairs, and she asked Chen Sun what the girl's name was. Chi-Chi's questioning became a key clue to drive the plot, prompting Chen Sun to fall into memories after sobering up the next day, and the story was pulled back to his high school days 15 years ago. What is her name? Do you remember? Her name is Fangfen. It was an afternoon. The sun shone through the gaps in the leaves to the ground, and Fangfen came to school in a white dress. At the morning exercise, Chen Sun saw her for the first time. At the beginning, we first know these characters. Zhao Yi, an athletic boy who loves to play basketball and studies, but doesn't pay much attention to it, is Chen Sun's iron buddy. Xiao Ran, he is the top student in the class, with a gentle personality and a literary and artistic youth. Lin Jiama, she is a warm and cheerful girl, and she is also the goddess in Zhao Ye's heart. Chen Sun, he is a basketball player and a class leader, and he is naturally smart, optimistic, and confident. Fangfen had just transferred to Chen Sun's class. She was introverted and quiet, and never took the initiative to talk to her classmates, which particularly aroused the interest of Chen Sun, Zhao Yi, and Xiao Ran. At that time, he was just simply curious and wanted to know what kind of person this silent girl was. He immediately made a bet with Xiao Ran and Zhao Yi that he would be the first to talk to Fangfen. In order to win the bet, Chen Sun deliberately did not write his name in the history workbook. When Fangfen shouted in embarrassment whose name was not written in the homework book, Chen Xuansai raised his hand with a hippie smile. Fangfen angrily handed the homework book to him. Chen Sun also asked Fangfen to help him write his name. Fangfen angrily threw the book on the table, turned around, and left. Chen Sun's first attempt ended in failure. Lin Jiama couldn't get used to their approach, so she stepped forward and invited Fangfen to lunch. She pulled her to the dinner table to eat together. Lin Jiama dared to love and hate, and she became Fangfen's strong backing in the future. In this lively atmosphere, Fangfen still lowered his head and was silent. And Chen Sun on the opposite side kept staring at her, trying to get close to her. The blackboard newspaper of their class won the last place in the school competition. When their teacher asked Chen Sun, as the class leader, if there was any way to improve the level of the board newspaper, he proposed to change to a new propaganda committee member. He recommended Fangfen. Fangfen found Chen Sun and said that he couldn't do it at all, but in the end he did it seriously after school. This was the first time Fangfen took the initiative to talk to Chen Sun, and Chen Sun's competitive spirit was satisfied. When Chen Sun was playing basketball, he remembered that he forgot his homework book in the classroom, so he ran back to the classroom to get the homework book. At this time, he saw Fangfen, who was publishing the board newspaper. The evening dim sunlight filtered through the leaves, passed through the glass, and fell on Fangfen, who was dressed in white, and the breeze blew on her hair and face. After Fangfen turned his head to look at Chen Sun, he turned his head and continued to write the board newspaper. Chen Sun also picked up the chalk and took the initiative to help, and the two inadvertently looked at each other. The moment Fangfen looked at him, he was sure that he liked her. This scene not only deepened Chen Sun's relationship with Fangfen, but also laid the foundation for the development of the story between the two. Later, Fangfen told him that every time he got out of school, he always rode around the playground just to see him. She also knew that Chen Sun deliberately wore the school uniform backwards just so that Fangfen could see it at a glance. At that time, The campus was full of tacit happiness. In order to attract her attention, Chun Sun climbed over the window into the classroom after night self-study and wrote the words "Fong Fun likes Chun Sun" on the blackboard with his left hand. The crampedness and alienation from Fong Fun's transfer of school became the initial reason for Qiao Ran's gaze. He didn't take the initiative to test like Chun Sun, who immediately made a bet, nor did he have Lin Jiama's straightforward enthusiasm, but just walked into Fong Fun's world in a silent way. The next day, as soon as Fong Fun entered the classroom, she saw this line, and her face was suddenly shocked. She was full of helplessness and grievances in her heart, because she was introverted and shy, and this line made her the focus of discussion among the class. After Qiao Ran saw it, he quickly picked up the blackboard and erased the line. He comforted Fong Fun, while Chun Sun looked at Fong Fun from his seat. With anticipation in his eyes, he wanted to see how Fong Fun would react. Fong Fun lay on the bed and cried all morning, forgetting to even eat breakfast. When it was time to raise the national flag, Fong Fun fainted on the spot due to a hypoglycemic attack. At that time, Chun Sun and Qiao Ran were flag raisers, and the two rushed over almost at the same time, scrambling to pick up Fong Fun and run to the infirmary. The principal shouted from behind that the two flag raisers must stay one, and they didn't take care of it. The two of them were running while scrambling. When they arrived at the infirmary, the school doctor informed the two that Fong Fun had fainted due to not eating breakfast. Qiao Ran hurriedly said that he was going to buy food for Fong Fun, and after that, only Chun Sun and Fong Fun were left in the infirmary. Chun Sun apologized to Fong Fun and took the opportunity to confess. He asked Fong Fun if he liked him, and finally Fong Fun acquiesced to liking Chun Sun when the doctor asked for his name. Chun Sun and the doctor asked her at the same time, yes or no? She answered yes. The two gradually came together. At this time, Qiao Ran hurriedly brought back a lot of food, not realizing that the two had expressed their feelings to each other. He is different from Chun Sun's enthusiastic initiative. Qiao Ran's liking is a step back. He never competes for a sense of existence. Since then, the relationship between the two has taken a subtle turn. They started a youthful relationship. They would silently pay attention to each other, and their eyes would always fall on each other unconsciously. When they occasionally pass each other, they will deliberately speed up their pace, but they will always snicker after meeting tacitly. Chun Sun would follow Fong Fun with a dead face, and Fong Fun no longer rejected Chun Sun's approach. On the last day of 1999, before the residual warmth of the millennium dissipated, Chun Sun excitedly pulled Fong Fun, Qiao Ran, Zhao Yi, and Lin Jiama into the crowded roller skating rink. The roller skating rink at the end of the 90s still had a retro liveliness. Chun Sun slipped freely early, and he stretched out his hand to Fong Fun and pulled her to roller skate together. Chun Sun, Fong Fun and friends are playing at the ice rink. When the atmosphere was cheerful, Fong Fun was accidentally bumped into by a social gangster. The gangster not only did not apologize, but also spoke rudely to Chun Sun and others, full of swearing, and his attitude was very arrogant. They even made fun of Fong Fun. In order to protect Fong Fun, Chun Sun immediately argued with the gangsters, and the two sides soon argued, and then the conflict escalated and turned into a fierce group fight. During the fight, Chun Sun was beaten by the gangsters on the ground, which was at a disadvantage. Fong Fun saw Chun Sun being beaten, afraid that the tragedy would happen again. She was worried that she would implicate Chun Sun and be beaten for no reason, so she shouted loudly, Chun Sun, let's break up. When Chun Sun heard this, he was surprised at first, but then as if he was stimulated by his fighting spirit, he was suddenly full of strength and rose up to fight back. He didn't bother to think too much, and he didn't have time to ask Fong Fun why he suddenly said he was breaking up, so he immediately took Fong Fun's hand and ran towards the outside of the skating rink. The two ran all the way until they moved away from the ice rink and ran to a relatively safe place before stopping. At this time, Chun Sun and Fong Fun were both out of breath, and Chun Sun looked at Fong Fun, his eyes full of concern and doubts. Fong Fun lowered his head, hesitated for a while, and finally cried and told Chun Sun what happened in the past. Fong Fun was harassed by a gangster before transferring to school, and later the gangster accidentally lost his life in order to vent his anger on Fong Fun. The gangster brothers forced Fong Fun to bring white flowers and keep the festival for their dead brothers. Fong Fun couldn't bear the disturbance, so he chose to transfer schools. After hearing this, Chun Sun's heart was full of distress. He apologized to her because he didn't know what happened in the past. She hoped that he would never say sorry for the rest of his life. He stretched out his hand, pulled Fong Fun tightly, and promised her that he would always love her and protect her. He shouted Fong Fun's name over and over again, as if this could give Fong Fun strength. He let her know that he would no longer let her face those pains alone. Fong Fun responded tirelessly. In this back-and-forth echo, the two seemed to have temporarily forgotten the conflict and unhappiness they had just experienced, as well as the disturbances of the outside world. In this way, Chun Sun conveyed his firmness and affection to Fong Fun. As the countdown to the new millennium ended, fireworks bloomed in the night sky, and Chen Sun and Fang Fan closed their eyes and kissed against the backdrop of fireworks. Surrounded by the cheers of others, they are immersed in each other's love at this moment. After the two confirmed their intentions, Chen Sun and Fang Fan's commuting to and from school became a tacit agreement with each other. Since then, the relationship between Chen Sun and Fang Fan has further heated up. Several people went to and from school together, and their faces were full of youthful atmosphere. After that, several people went to the beach together during the summer, and this trip became an unforgettable time in their youthful memories, and it also made the relationship of several people have new changes. After arriving at the beach, everyone played to their heart's content. Zhao Yi and Lin Jiama chased the waves on the beach. Zhao Yi was full of joy and thought that Lin Jiama had a good impression of him. While everyone was away, Zhao Yi suggested that the two write the names of the people they liked each other. Zhao Yi wrote Lin Jiama's name on the beach with anticipation, but Lin Jiama ran away happily after writing. Only then did Zhao Yi realize that she was writing Su Kai's name. He smiled bitterly and erased Su Kai's name, wrote his own name, and pretended that the person Lin Jiama liked was himself. Then he changed his happy expression and ran after Lin Jiama on the beach. Only he knew the loss in his heart. Who is this Su Kai? Let's look back at what happened before. Just when Zhao Yi tried his best to protect Lin Jiama, but gradually fell into the wind, Su Kai happened to appear. He pushed aside the crowd and knocked down the group of unsteady gangsters in a few strokes. His movements are crisp and neat, like the knight who saved the protagonist in the comics. Lin Jiama later always said that Su Kai's posture of playing and fighting is equally handsome. This unexpected relief completely transformed the admiration in her heart into a warm love. She believes that this teenager who will stand up in times of crisis is the destiny of her youth. He is Su Kai, whom Lin Jiama likes, and he is also the actor's real-life husband. At that time, slam dunk was popular on campus, and Su Kai had outstanding skills and was a figure with his own light in the eyes of everyone. Su Kai's intrusion completely rewrote Lin Jiama's youth trajectory. This girl, who has always dared to love and hate, began to approach him in the most clumsy and passionate way. Hearing that SK is the abbreviation of his name, she went crazy to collect all the $1 bills numbered starting with SK. She carefully saved it into a stack, full of hope that he would understand this hidden heart. She showed up on time every day at noon and afternoon just to watch him play a game. She secretly studied his preferences and even learned to knit the popular plastic bracelet at the time, and she lied that the classmates next door asked her to forward it, just so that he would not be embarrassed to accept. She tried to shape herself into a look worthy of him, but she didn't find that Su Kai always had a distant politeness towards these efforts. And Xiao Ran's most touching emotional expression of the other party is hidden in the undisclosed composition, A Lilac Flower. That summer, he wrote about his first encounter in the article. The picture in this text may be a chance encounter on his way to school, or a glimpse in the corridor between classes. But what is certain is that before Fang Fan noticed, her figure had been engraved in his memory along with the fragrance of spring flowers. He even quietly found the 5-petal lilac, which symbolizes happiness, but never handed it to her. His fledgling love was too pure and too timid. He was afraid of upsetting her quietness, and he was even more afraid of breaking the subtle tacit understanding between them. This composition was written by Xiao Ran for Fang Fan. In his composition, he used lilac flowers as a metaphor to euphemistically express the love of the other party. The composition wrote, "Every year in spring, when the lilacs bloom, I will think of her, a girl like a lilac." It was a bright spring day. As she walked past the lilacs, a breeze suddenly blew, and the light white 4-petaled flowers fell down and landed on her hair and shoulders, as if it had rained flowers on purpose. In the flowers, she raised her head and smiled softly at him. As soon as he thought of that warm and bright smile, lilacs bloomed all over the world. Xiao Ran won the literary award for this essay. On days when the lilacs exude a charming aroma, I pluck a 5-petal lilac from the bushes and give it to her. If this lilac flower works, I would rather give her my happiness as well. For Xiao Ran, this was the first time he expressed his love to Fang Fan, but at this time Fang Fan was already with Chen Sun, and this composition also became the beginning and end of his love. Xiao Ran had already engraved restraint into his feelings for her when he first met. As long as he can be by her side, even if it's just the distance of borrowing notes to talk about the exercises, it's enough. And Chen Sun also wrote a song for Fang Fan, which was called Fleet of Time. After Chen Sun and Fang Fan confirmed their relationship, they had a very good time. Chen Sun's relationship with Fang Fan became deeper and deeper, and every night when they called, Chen Sun composed this song for Fang Fan. He was full of joy and wanted to sing this song to Fang Fan. But when he was just about to sing, the phone was hung up by Fang Fan's father. This was the first time Chen Sun wanted to show Fang Fan the song he had written for her. Unfortunately, until the end, Fang Fan did not have the opportunity to hear this song, which also became a major regret in Chen Sun's life. When Fang Fan's father learned about it, He was furious that he resolutely opposed the two being together, and the school also knew about it. So he began to strictly monitor Fangfun, picking her up and dropping her off from school every day, and Fangfun was forced to deliberately avoid Chen Sun. The two suddenly became the most familiar strangers at school. Previously, Lin Jiama carefully knitted a plastic bracelet for Su Kai and lied that it was handed over by the girl in the next class. Su Kai returned the bracelet to her in the aisle and said to her, "Students don't always think about these questions." He warned Lin Jiama not to always think about these things. He should read more books and read more newspapers, eat less snacks and sleep more, and cherish time to study hard. Her movements of taking the bracelet were a little stiff, and her eyes that were originally expectant instantly dimmed, and she didn't even dare to look up at Su Kai again. The excuse she had previously found for the girl next door to give a gift was punctured, and there was not even the last bit of room to cover up. The embarrassment and loss of her heart being seen through but pushed away made it difficult for her to hide her grievances. In order to vent his anger on her, Zhao Yi deliberately impacted when playing with Su Kai, but he himself fell and broke his bone. After Zhao Yi was injured and fractured while playing, Chen Sun, Fangfun, Xiao Ran, and Lin Jiama went to the hospital to visit him. He was unable to play in subsequent matches after his injury, and he has always been eager to do well in the game. His friend Chen Sun knew that Zhao Yi wanted to win the championship, and in order to help him realize this wish, Chen Sun decided to play for him. Several people wrote their names on the plaster, symbolizing everyone's encouragement and courage. When Lin Jiama wrote on the plaster, she lowered her head and said, "Don't worry." Her name strokes were a bit too much. The sun poured in through the window, and the scene at that moment was particularly warm. This plot not only shows the deep friendship between them, but also becomes a good memory of their youth. In the final, Chen Sun's team played very fiercely. Chen Sun was sweating profusely waiting for the second half. He anxiously asked where Fangfun went. Lin Jiama told him that Fangfun was not able to come to see Chen Sun's game because he was picked up by his father. Soon in the second half, the cheers of the crowd seemed to have stimulated Chen Sun and a few others. Time passed minute by minute, and at the critical moment, Chen Sun scored a buzzer-beating three-pointer, and the team turned defeat into victory and finally won the championship. The audience cheered, and Chen Sun was surrounded like a hero. And Fangfun did jump off the bicycle and run to the playground. She saw the highlight moment when Chen Sun made a key three-pointer. It's just a pity that she was squeezed out of the crowd and couldn't share the joy with Chen Sun. After that basketball game, they quickly entered an intense senior year of high school. After entering the third year of high school, Chen Sun and Fangfun both studied hard and ignored each other. Many lives will go their separate ways from here. There are 1,000 kinds in the future. Chen Sun doesn't know what the future will be like for him and Fangfun. This graduation photo means that everyone is about to go their separate ways and say goodbye to their high school life. After taking the graduation photos, Chen Sun took the initiative to take Fangfun's hand, and several people came to a big tree on campus together. Chen Sun picked up a stone and carefully carved the words, "Chen Sun Fangfun will always be together," on the tree trunk. After the carving, Chen Sun promised Fangfun that he would definitely be admitted to the same university as her, and they would be together forever. This not only shows the innocent love between Chen Sun and Fangfun, but also symbolizes their beautiful expectations and firm belief in the future. In order to achieve this goal, they all immersed themselves in studying hard. That year's college entrance examination officially began. Just after the first half of the exam, Fangfun complained to Chen Sun that in the math exam, she made a mistake in the last big question and was deducted 13 points, and she was worried that she would not be admitted to the same university as Chen Sun. When Chen Sun learned about it, he immediately comforted her and encouraged her, vowing that the two would go to the same university. After the exam, the students held a graduation party. Fangfun was depressed because of his mistake in the college entrance examination and drank a lot of wine. At this time, Xiao Ran also had deep feelings for Fangfun, and he took this opportunity to confess to Fangfun. He vowed to make Fangfun happy. The drunken Fangfun repeated. Xiao Ran told the drunken Fangfun that he would not allow her to be unhappy. He asked Fangfun if she was as brave as Chen Sun at the beginning, would she like her, and asked if he could hug her. But Fangfun only has friendship with Xiao Ran. She refused Xiao Ran's hug and then left in despair. On the other side, Chen Sun sang Faith to Fangfun, who came back. Fangfun was moved by Chen Sun's singing, ran over and hugged him, crying in tears. Xiao Ran stood silently in the darkness alone, looking at Chen Sun and Fangfun, his heart full of loneliness and helplessness. He knew that the relationship between him and Fangfun could only become a regret. This shows the seemingly firm love between Chen Sun and Fangfun at that time, and also highlights Xiao Ran's fruitless love for each other. Fangfun cried and asked, Will you still hold hands like you do now when you are old? That year, the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games were held in Beijing, and the people of the whole country celebrated. It took us a long time to learn that the so-called forever is not before or later, and the time together is the real eternity. After entering the university, Zhao Yi set up a stall near Lin Jiama's school to sell clothes. In order to be with Su Kai, Lin Jiama was admitted to the same university as him. Lin Jiama often went to Zhao Yi's stall to sit idly. Zhao Yi never asked much, he just tacitly accomplished with him. He never poked her sadness, but turned coaxing her happy into the most important thing besides setting up a stall. But in this waiting, there are more grievances that Zhao Yi swallows alone. This stall is like a lookout for Zhao Yi's youth. Xiao Ran was directly admitted to the University of Edinburgh. He did not choose to take the exam. His love that had been hidden for many years and never declared it was the most gentle and restrained revelation, like a layer of tulle blown by the wind, briefly revealing the regret that he did not dare to touch in his heart. He had a long dream on the plane, a hug. Chen Sun and Fang Fan got their wish and were admitted to the same university. We all thought that all our vows could be fulfilled and that we could be together forever as long as we grew up. But later we found out that the university was too big to escape the fate of parting ways. Chen Sun attracted many girls because of his handsome appearance and ability to play the guitar. Among them, Shen Xiaodang was very interested in him. Although Fang Fan is introverted because of Chen Sun's side, his heart is still full of expectations for college life. Shen Xiaodang has a cheerful personality, enthusiasm, and generosity, and has a common musical hobby with Chen Sun, which gives them more topics and contact opportunities. When Fang Fan and her classmates got out of class that day, she was stopped by Chen Sun. He introduced himself as Fang Fan's boyfriend. The female classmates cast envious glances, but after a while, Fang Fan began to get angry. She felt that after going to college, Chen Sun neglected herself, and many girls in the school liked him, and she would be jealous. But at Chen Sun's plea, the two still agreed to meet and date on Fang Fan's birthday. However, when Chen Sun and Fang Fan separated, Chen Sun happened to meet Shen Xiaodang, who was skipping class again. For Chen Sun, Shen Xiaodang has an initiative that Fang Fan has never had before, and Fang Fan is always the one who passively accepts. She makes Chen Sun, who is accustomed to one-way giving, feel fresh and relaxed. After that, the contact between the two gradually increased. In the boys' dormitory here, there are always some topics between men and women. Chen Sun's roommate Kwang Chang is a more cynical person. One night, when Chen Sun was about to go out to find Fang Fan, Kwang Chang threw a condom to Chen Sun. He joked that he could use it. Chen Sun quickly explained that his relationship with Fang Fan was very pure and not based on that kind of thing. However, his explanation was ridiculed by his roommates, and he had to awkwardly accept the condom and put it in his pocket. Later, when Chen Sun and Fang Fan were walking together, Fang Fan reached into his pocket and touched the condom. Chen Sun suddenly looked panicked, struggling not to let Fang Fan take it out, and at the moment Fang Fan pulled it out, Chen Sun snatched it over, said it was a lollipop in a panic, and then put it in his mouth, trying to cover it up. It's strawberry-flavored and delicious. In the early morning, Shen Xiaodang called Chen Sun to see the raising of the national flag, and Chen Sun agreed to her. He followed Shen Xiaodang to see the raising of the national flag, and then played together for several days. This experience made the relationship between Chen Sun and Shen Xiaodang closer. This also made Fang Fan feel left out, and she always couldn't find Chen Sun. When her classmates asked Fang Fan, she also explained. Chen Sun didn't go to class, nor did he attend a party with a few friends. Fang Fan kept looking for excuses for Chen to say that he was busy, until Fang Fan accidentally saw Chen Sun, who was supposed to be in class, eating with Shen Xiaodang. The two talked and laughed, and their demeanor was intimate, like a couple. This scene hit Fang Fan deeply, and she was already uneasy because of Chen Sun's neglect. At night, Fang Fan called Chen Sun, and Chen Sun gradually ignored Fang Fan because of the reason for rehearsing the show with Shen Xiaodang. Fang Fan kept calling Chen Sun's mobile phone. Chen Sun was resting. He immediately went over to answer, but Fang Fan happened to hang up. When she went to bed, she heard Chen Sun's call back and wanted to go down to answer, but accidentally sprained her ankle and failed to receive Chen Sun's call back. The two missed this contact. On Fang Fan's birthday, Chen Sun woke up in the morning and remembered that it was Fang Fan's birthday. He ran downstairs to pick up Fang Fan in the girls' dormitory and saw Fang Fan's sprained foot downstairs. He was full of guilt and kept apologizing to Fang Fan, saying that he was busy with the New Year's party and ignored her. But at this time Fang Fan was already sad because of Chen Sun's recent snub. She jumped past Chen Sun and didn't want to pay attention to Chen Sun, and the atmosphere of this meeting was not pleasant. She told Chen Sun that if he fell in love with someone else one day, he must tell her that she would not pester him. Xiao Ran chatted with Fong Fan on QQ for a long time. Xiao Ran babbled a lot, and finally Xiao Ran asked Fong Fan, "Are you okay?" Fong Fan only replied with a good word. Xiao Ran knew that Fong Fan's birthday was not good. That day, Chen Sun thought he was like a lonely bird and couldn't find a land where he could stop, but he met another bird at this time. In his relationship with Shen Xiaodong, Chen Sun was gradually attracted by Shen Xiaodong's enthusiasm and vitality, and his heart began to waver between Fong Fan and Shen Xiaodong. Before the school party, Fong Fan learned that Chen Sun would perform with Shen Xiaodong, and although she felt uneasy, she still decided to go to the party. At the beginning of the party, the students were watching the program in the auditorium, and the announcer introduced that Chen Sun and Shen Xiaodong were about to perform on stage. Fong Fan's heart was full of apprehension and uneasiness. She couldn't bear the scene in front of her. She walked out of the venue full of grief, and then called Chen Sun. At this time, Chen Sun and Shen Xiaodong in the auditorium began their performance, singing the song Fleet of Time, written by Chen Sun specially for Fong Fan. Fong Fan asked Chen Sun if he liked Shen Xiaodong, just like Chen Sun asked her what she wanted. Chen Sun on the other end of the phone hesitated for a long time, looked at Shen Xiaodong's figure, and said, "He doesn't know." This answer made Fong Fan frustrated. She told Chen Su that it was just the last few seconds of the two together, and she was not his girlfriend anymore. Then he hung up the phone. Fong Fan came alone to the tree where she and Chen Sun had carved Fong Fan Chen Sun is together for the rest of her life, and cried sadly, marking the complete end of her once beautiful first love with Chen Sun. The original oath came to her mind. Chen Sun, who walked out of the performance hall, could no longer find Fong Fan. After that, Fong Fan went to the boys' dormitory to find Chen Sun on the grounds of returning the book, wanting to see him, but learned from Chen Sun's roommate that Chen Sun had moved out to live with Shen Xiaodong. This made her hard to believe that Fong Fan, who did not give up, came downstairs where Chen Sun and Shen Xiaodong lived together. She saw Chen Sun and Shen Xiaodong shopping hand in arm together, talking and laughing, and then walking into a residential building. Fong Fan stood downstairs, looking at the two figures in the room until the lights came on and went out. She stood downstairs all night before leaving alone. In June of the following year, Xiao Ran returned to China, and he gathered several people together again. The atmosphere at their dinner party seemed very awkward and depressing, and Zhao Yi jokingly called Lin Jiama his daughter-in-law in order to ease the atmosphere. He was sternly denied by Lin Jiama. Their relationship has not reached that point yet. If she had misunderstood him before, she was sorry. Lin Jiama made it clear that the two had broken up. Zhao Yi awkwardly explained that the two of them were good friends, and there was no breakup that did not break up. At this time, Fong Fan was no longer the simple girl she used to be. She calmly said that she had broken up with Chen Sun, and then she asked for 2 boxes of beer. After 3 rounds of wine, Fong Fan took advantage of the wine to ask him about Shen Xiaodong, and the embarrassing question made Chen Sun not know what to do. He got up and wanted to leave, but was pulled back by Fong Fan. Fong Fan humbly begged Chen Sun to reconcile with him, and what he didn't do well could be corrected. But even though Fong Fan begged him so much, Chen Sun still said to her the 3 words Fong Fan was most reluctant to say. When she asked him drunkenly, did he not want her anymore? He held her face helplessly and kept saying sorry, sorry. Xiao Ran looked at the scene in front of him, and when he heard that Chen Sun had hurt Fong Fan, his heart was full of anger, and he rushed up to fight Chen Sun. Seeing this, Zhao Yi hurriedly persuaded him, but he couldn't stop the emotional Xiao Ran and Chen Sun. In desperation, Zhao Yi also became excited, and he overturned the table with force. In the chaos and anger, Zhao Yi remembered the plaster that everyone had signed together, and he threw the plaster carrying the friendship of the past to the ground. The plaster shattered into pieces, which not only symbolizes the shattering of their once beautiful friendship, but also reflects the pain and helplessness of everyone after experiencing all kinds of twists and turns in love and friendship. Lin Jiama used the money she saved to lose to her boss. Chen Sun told the truth of the year. That year, in order to go to the same university as Fong Fan, he deliberately left a 13-point question unanswered. After Fong Fan learned the news, she was extremely painful and desperate in her heart. In order to take revenge on Chen Sun, but also to take revenge on herself, she immediately chose to sleep with Kwang Chang in order to vent her emotions. Afterwards, Kwang Chang used his affair with Fong Fan as a talking point in the boys' dormitory to show off, saying that Fong Fan was from the management department and lay on the bed like a dead fish. After Chen Sun heard this, he lost his mind on the spot and fought with Kwang Chong. Chen Sun braved the heavy rain to find Fong Fun and asked her why she was ruining herself like this. Fong Fun was numb throughout the process. She no longer cared about her body and dignity. She just wanted to end her love for Chen Sun in such an extreme way, and she had a decisive emotion in her heart. She asked Chen Sun, "I love you. Can you have sex with me?" Seeing Fong Fun and Kwang Chong together, his jealousy was stimulated, and he regretted his neglect of the other party. And his pain not only came from Fong Fun's self-abandonment, but also from his self-blame for his actions. More than 2 months later, Chen Sun and his girlfriend were in the hospital, and he overheard the news of a girl's pregnancy, known as Fong Fun. Chen Sun hurried to the clinic to see her, and this kind of news undoubtedly had an indelible impact on him. Fong Fun fell into complete despair and self-destruction when she learned that she was pregnant, while Chen Sun was coerced by guilt, panic, and responsibility, and the mood and situation of the two were completely painful. Fong Fun has no expectation for a new life, only hatred for his own behavior. She hated herself for retaliating by hurting her body, and she hated that the relationship had come to such an unbearable point. Pregnancy was not a surprise for her, but the last straw that broke her and made her completely believe that her love and youth were right. The doctor asked who the father of her child was. In the face of the doctor's questioning, Chen Sun on the side claimed the identity of the child's father without hesitation. This responsibility does not stem from love, but instinctively makes up for it in a panic. He knows that he owes Fong Fun too much, and can only try to reduce the secondary harm to her in this way. But this passive commitment also made him completely fall into a triangular dilemma with Xin Xiaodong and Fong Fun, and was in a dilemma. They waited for a long time in the hospital that day, and when Chen Sun bought cigarettes, Fong Fun had already walked into the operating room. That was the end of Chen Sun's 5-year first love and the beginning of his 10-year smoking age. And Fong Fun chose not to use anesthesia during the operation, and she may want to remember this painful experience forever and remember this love that has passed. After the operation, Fong Fun stumbled up to Chen Sun and returned the accounting principal's book to him. Fong Fun barely looked up at Chen Sun the whole time. His voice was weak and calm, even with a numb exhaustion. She did not accuse Chen Sun of betrayal, nor did she cry about her grievances. This state of not resenting or hating was more distressing than intense emotions. This means that she has been completely disappointed in the relationship. Chen Sun stood aside, his eyes obviously panicked and guilty, but he could never find a suitable way to make up for it. Fong Fun is not only Chen Sun's first love, but also his mentor in love. They were separated in time. She cried and sighed. If only the child was his. They have everything except children. When we were young, we always didn't care at the beginning, but we always felt heartbroken at the end. Many years later, Zhao Yi decided to hold a wedding. He did not invite complicated relatives and friends, but insisted on gathering Chen Sun, Xiao Ran, Lin Jiama, and his youthful partners. He declared that he wanted to invite an artist from France to shoot a documentary for the wedding to record everyone's memories of youth. But the artist with the camera, Chi-Chi, has always pointed her lens at Chen Sun intentionally or unintentionally. This aroused Chen Sun's curiosity. He wondered why she kept inquiring about the past. She always seemingly casually asks questions about the past. At first, Chen Sun thought it was just a regular interview for wedding commemoration. But when the camera captured him talking about Fong Fun, his eyes were instantly red, and his panicked and nervous expression was instantly red. Chen Sun said to the camera the guilt he had hidden for more than 10 years. He regretted it. And when asked if he regretted it, he regretted it. Since Fong Fun disappeared, Chen Sun has been looking for her for many years. Chen Sun, Zhao Yi, Xiao Ran, and Lin Jiama, 3 friends, came to a tree on the high school campus to remember the lost years. After Xiao Ran told Chen Sun that he had seen Fong Fun, he told Chen Sun that he could not disturb Fong Fun when he met, but Chen Sun could. Xiao Ran's words reflect his silent protection of Fong Fun. He is well aware of the complicated past between Chen Sun and Fong Fun, and is worried that Chen Sun's appearance will bring harm to Fong Fun again. So he chooses to see Fong Fun silently, and hopes that Chen Sun can also respect Fong Fun and not disturb her life. Chen Sun asked, "What does she look like now?" "She hasn't changed," he replied. After the wedding, Kiki returned to France, where she handed the DVD to Chen Sun at the airport and told him to see it for the end. The DVD is related to Zhao Ye's wedding. She asked him if he had anything to say to Fong Fun at the end. Long time no see. The camera freezes on Chen Sun's intriguing expression, leaving the audience with a room for imagination. After Chen Sun returned home, he played the disc and saw the picture of Zhao Ye's wedding, and he had not yet recovered from today's interview. Chen Sun picked up the accounting book and opened it to reminisce. But the style of painting on TV suddenly changed. Chi-Chi appeared on the bridge of Alexander III, calling her sister all the time. And then Chen Sun saw the person who had been thinking about it day and night. Sister, do you want to say anything to Chen Sun? We always think that youth is very long and can be squandered wantonly. But when we really grow up, we find that youth is a train without a return ticket. Those unspoken likes and mistakes that have not had time to make up for will eventually become cinnabar moles in the heart. And occasionally, they will hurt faintly when they think of them. When the inscription, "I don't regret my dream home, I only hate it too hastily," appeared in front of our eyes, the audience's tears completely burst. It was rumored on the internet that after the original novel was published, Fangfen's prototype character left a message in Jiu Yifen's comments, saying that he would never forgive her in his life. She acknowledges this in her blog and shares her experience of getting involved in a friend's relationship in college. This is further confirmed by the similarities between the plot depicted by Nine Knights in the novel and her real-life experiences. Now that we look at Fleet of Time, it is no longer to see the joys and sorrows of first love, but to find fragments of our youth in the story of Chen Sun and Fangfen. Maybe it's the love letter that I didn't dare to hand out. Maybe it's the goodbye I didn't say when I graduated, or maybe it's because I grew up and realized that it was just ordinary at that time. This movie is like a mirror that reflects our bravery and cowardice. It also makes us understand that youth is precious not because of how beautiful it is, but because it can never come back. See you soon.